Hi, I'm Kyle Harris, and we are going to go through the last phase of the NASM-OPT model for sports performance training. These workouts are geared towards baseball players, as I've mentioned before. A lot of transfer over to softball, but they can be used for any athlete. Now, we're heading into the power phase, which is the last phase. The power phase is all about taking what we've done, starting in the stabilization endurance phase, all the way through the maximal strength phase, and getting it to apply to more sport-specific activities so we can increase the rate of force production. We're trying to take all of those things we've worked on and make our bodies more productive on the field in competition, faster and more powerful. So what we're going to do in this phase is the same thing as we've done in the other phase. We start with an aerobic warm-up to prime our body. That can be anything that's whole body. It can be running, you could utilize a treadmill, an elliptical, an arc trainer. I personally like something where there's a lot of hip flexion and extension, so something like jogging, running, an upright bike, an arc trainer are great to use. After that, we're going to do our shoulder circuit. We can use the cables or we can use the bands, try to get that shoulder going. Again, and in my justification paper I talk about it, I like to do those early in the workout to make sure the athletes are mentally focused on doing it because that shoulder care is so important. After that, we get to the flexibility portion. We've done static stretching, we've done active isolated stretching. In the power phase, and then probably through preseason and season, we're going to utilize a dynamic warm-up. We're going to do 10 exercises in this dynamic warm-up that I'm going to show you. I like to start with tube walking. You can use tubes like this. And we're going to go right around the ankle here. We're going to do about 10 steps to each side. We've shown you this during different phases of the strength and conditioning program. We used it for speed training early on for our SAQ. Now we're using it as a warm-up. As athletes progress and get stronger, you can use different kinds of bands. This is a little thicker training band. I just want to show you some progressions and regressions we can use. You can go around your knee, which will make it easier for the athlete. You can go around your ankle, which makes it a little more difficult. And then if the athlete wants to, you can actually go around the forefoot here. When you're around the forefoot, the lower you get, the more you're going to hit the glutes, and the more difficult it's going to be. After band walks, or tube walking, we're going to go to walking RDLs. Walking RDLs are excellent for flexibility, and they're great for balance training. So in this phase, we actually incorporate the balance and core training into the overall workout. So it's either going to be, and even the plyometrics. Those things are going to be included in the warm-up or in the strength training portion of the workout. After the single leg RDLs, we're going to do hurdle walks. This entire dynamic warm-up is geared towards the muscles that we're going to use in baseball. So with the hurdle walk, we're going to start open and come to close. We're going to lift and then rotate. Lift and then rotate. Lift and rotate. And then we can do it in the reverse way. We can lift and then go to external rotation. To teach your athletes this, you can use low hurdles to step over, and that will help them. Next, we're going to do a lunge with the knee pull. We're going to lunge out into a stretch on that back leg, and then we're going to pull the knee up. And as you can see, there's a balance component there. This is not a lunge that we're going to perform as a strength exercise. This is a lunge we're going to perform as a stretch. So we want to step out a little bit more, stretch that quadriceps and hip flexor, come up with the knee pull. Next, we're going to do an overhead squat. You can have your athletes hold a dowel rod, a towel. They can not hold anything. I have them hold a band. They can kind of pull it apart if they need to keep their arms up. We're going to perform an overhead squat. And we can kind of check our athletes. I like to do this because it allows me to check my athletes for functionability, see if there's any compensations we might need to address that workout or future workouts. We're going to do a push-up with rotation for our shoulders. This one's great for the upper body, stabilization, balance, and it gets the shoulder, the posterior shoulder, a little bit more loosened up. A lateral lunge with rotation here. We can actually add a medicine ball to this if we want to. We're going to step, get the adductor, and then rotate. Inchworms, again, another posterior chain. We're going to come down, walk our hands out, walk our feet to our hands, trying to keep the knees straight but not hyperextended. I love this exercise. There's a lot of stability involved in it in the upper body, and it helps to warm up not only the back of the legs, the low back, but also the shoulders. Squat and touches. I like to incorporate some movement with these. So we're going to come down, touch, touch, touch. Activating the entire lower extremity and the low back. As the athletes get better, we can almost incorporate a little bit of a plyometric component to it. So we're coming over and then pushing off. So now we're doing a little plyometric in there and some balance. And as the athletes get really good, we can make it more explosive. And then lastly, one of my favorites for baseball, skipping with over-unders. So we're getting a component here and we're getting the lower body in. So we're skipping. You can also do it overhead for a little more shoulder work. So that's our dynamic warm-up for the flexibility portion of our power phase in the NASM-OPT model. So after our dynamic flexibility, we're going to move on to SAQ training, speed, agility, and quickness. We're going to start with 3 simple ladder exercises we've been doing throughout the previous phases. We're going to start with 1-ins. Just like a high knee run, we're just going to do it in the ladder. We're just trying to take those skills, the footwork and the motor skills we've learned previously, and just make sure we don't lose those, and we're using them as some quickness drills, some agility drills, and a little bit more of a warm-up. After that, we'll do 2-ins. We're going 2 feet in each box, trying to get those knees up, working on pushing off, working through some modified triple flexion and triple extension, and then we're going to do jumping jacks. After that, we're going to move to the Ali shuffle. Our little helper here, Lexi. With the Ali shuffle, we're going to come and we're going to do an Ali shuffle with a sprint. So what we're going to do here is that after we finish, we can either take off forward in the sagittal plane, or we can take off in the frontal plane laterally with a sprint. So we'll come. And then we'll set our feet. We can get a little sprint to get that multi-directional component and that reactionary component. We're going to do the speed ladder upper body drill. Again, I've talked about this previously. I like that because upper body agility is important, as is the flexibility, the dynamic stabilization, and the other components that it helps with the upper body. Next, we're going to do a very baseball specific drill. We're going to do a tennis ball steel drop. We've done steel starts in the program, and we've done some mirrored steel starts. Now we're going to go on a harder visual cue. We've got the owner of the gym, Troy, here, the owner of Clyde Health and Fitness. He's let us do these videos here, so we want to thank him. He's going to show us what we do. He's got a ball. I'm going to get in my lead-off position here. When he drops that ball, we're going to take off on the visual cue and try to grab that on one bounce. As we progress and get better, he's going to bounce that ball lower and lower, or I'm going to start from a farther direction. We can work those linearly, and we're going to want to work those to the left as well to make sure we're working that, because we're not only going to move laterally when we steal, we're going to be moving left and right on the field as well defensively, so we need to make sure we work our reaction for both. Next, we're going to do resisted sprints. If you don't have a belt and a bungee cord, I've shown you some ways we can do it. We're just going to take a training band here. He's going to hold the back of it, and then I'm going to take off, and he's going to resist me. Just like that. Just like in the maximal strength phase, we'll do some lateral shuffles that are resisted, and then we'll also do assisted sprints that are going to make us increase our stride rate and turnover rate. The last thing is multi-directional variability. This one's going to be difficult to show here, so I'm going to talk you through it and do the best that I can. In this drill, we're taking our motor skills, motor movements, and reactionary skills, and we're really making them variable. So you're going to have your athlete start in an athletic position, and the coach is going to point to the direction they want the athlete to go, and they're going to yell the motor skill. So they might point straight at me and say backpedal. At that point, I'm just going to backpedal that direction. They might point towards the coach and yell sprint. I'm going to break down sprint as fast as I can. They might say side shuffle and point that direction. I have to break down and move. They might point this direction and say sprint at the same time. So I have to stop, cross over, and sprint. We're working on variability within multi-directional component. We're working on speed, and we're working on reaction, which is very important to baseball. We see that ball off the bat, boom, we want to get a good jump. When it's time for us to run, we've got to be able to go immediately. So we're trying to get that component in. As we progress onto the field, we can take these skills and we can use them for some position-specific things. Catchers can do different things with this, outfielders, infielders, so we can make it very specific and oriented. And we have to remember, that's what sport-specific training is. It's not hooking up a baseball bat to a weight stack and swinging. Sport-specific training is training the skills that are used in the sport. Building a foundation through the OPT model, through stabilization endurance, all the way to this power phase, and then applying them onto the field with skills that we're gonna use that include our energy systems for baseball, usually ATP, maybe some CP, and the movements that we're gonna be doing on the field, reaction, moving forward, drop stepping. Another thing I like to do with that multi-direction variability with an outfielder is we do our outfielder drills. So the coach might point this direction, I gotta drop step and run. I'm looking at the coach, he points the other direction, I drop step and run, or I turn and run. And then to make that more difficult, we'll use a 3-ball drill. The coach throws the ball this way. Hold on, Lexi. I got a drop step, catch that ball. He might point the other direction. Whether I'm gonna turn or break down and open, I go the other direction and catch that. So we can do that 3-ball drill for this as well. All right, now we're at the resistance portion of the power phase. This is the phase where we're gonna do a strength exercise supersetted with a power exercise, and that's where we're gonna utilize the plyometric portion of this workout. We're supersetting the strength to build stronger prime movers, and then we're gonna go do power exercises to take that strength and make it more powerful and explosive to increase the rate of force production and increase the ability of the body to react neuromuscularly. The first exercise is gonna be a squat today. On the other 2 days, we might do something like a front squat or a deadlift. We're going to work the lower body through a full range of motion on those exercises.
Please check out their mammoth selection of posters, tapestries, t-shirts, incense, disc golf, etc. accessories, shot glasses, flasks, beer bongs, and other great counterculture gear. If you're looking for that unique item, you can find it at Lunar Station and Mystery Smoking Gift Shop. Stop by any of their locations today. Get driving directions to all stations.
So we're going to superset that now. We just did a squat, and we're going to try to immediately go into an explosive exercise. We're going to use a medicine ball. The resistance for this part of the workout, we're going to use 5% of the athlete's body weight in week 1, and then we're going to progress to 8%, and then in week 4 of this phase, we're going to use 10%. So to do a wood chop jump, we're going to come down through here, try to feel that stretch in the hamstrings, back flat, and we're going to explode up. In the resistance portion, the squat, we do 2 to 5 reps or 1 to 5 reps at 85 to 100% of our 1 rep max. Using the medicine ball, we do 8 to 10 repetitions explosively as possible. Okay, so now we're going to do a lat pull, and we're going to superset that with a soccer throw. All right? With the resistance exercises here, we're going to want to do a 1-0-1 tempo. We're going to try to do it fast but controlled. And we're going to superset that lat pull down with a soccer throw or a medicine ball slam. We're going to bring that up, and we're going to come down this way. We really want to engage the lats in the back here. Slam it down. Just like that. The next exercise we're going to do is a pushing movement. It's going to be dumbbell bench press. I really like to keep dumbbells in there and not just do barbells, especially for pitchers. Works a little more stability in the shoulder, and they have to work on keeping their scapulas back, and it keeps the weight down a little bit so they're not going to injure themselves. We're going to superset that with a medicine ball chest pass. When doing a medicine ball chest pass, I like to make my athletes keep their feet flat on the floor. This way. I don't want them stepping. If we were playing a basketball game, obviously we want to step, get as much as we can, but we want to isolate that upper body here. So if I had a partner, I'd throw to them. I've got a nice trampoline here, so I'm going to use that. Athletic position. Try to throw that as hard as I can. Now, on a different day during this phase, we might be doing a barbell bench press, and we might superset it a little differently and do a rotational chest pass. So we'd stand this way, we'd rotate and push with that back arm. Rotate and push. Rotate and push as fast as we can. We want to do it as fast and explosively as possible. I can do 5 to 10 with one side, and then turn and do 5 to 10 with the other side. But we're working a rotational component and a core component there. Next, we're going to do a dumbbell shoulder press. On different days of this phase, we use a push press here, but we're going to use dumbbells on this day. Straight up, making sure we're engaging the core, trying to keep a neutral spine, which can be difficult for some athletes. And then we're going to superset that with an overhead medicine ball throw for the posterior shoulders and back. So we're going to start here, and we're going to explode backwards and throw that thing as far as we can. So we're coming here with an explosion. Working through not only triple extension, but also using that upper shoulder region, posterior shoulder region, to strengthen that and to make it more powerful. Final exercise on this day for the power phase is a good morning. We're going to use a good morning to hit the lower back. It's kind of a core exercise, and also the hamstrings. We're going to superset that with a kettlebell swing. When we're doing a kettlebell swing, we want to stay away from squatting. In this sense, boom, we want to snap through. We want it to be a snap. We're working fast on the way up and explosive, trying to keep the shoulders out of it and engage the hamstrings and the glutes. And you should feel a little bit of a stretch in the anterior hip region when you're finished with it in the up position. Now, the good morning can be progressed or regressed several different ways. We can use a safety bar to regress it. We can use a buffalo bar or a cambered bar to progress it. We can actually put it in the power rack, and we can start here and come up, come back down, pause, and then come back up to progress it as well. We can add weight to it. Great exercises. On a different day through the week, instead of the good morning, we might use a dumbbell RDL or a barbell RDL to work the hamstrings and low back, or we can do a reverse hyper, one of my favorite exercises. That actually concludes the power portion of this training phase. These are the exercises we're going to use that are going to translate everything we've done earlier in the program into neuromuscular controls that we can use on the field to make us a more explosive athlete. I want to thank you for watching this series of videos. Hopefully we can bring more to you in the future, and good luck. Thank you.